Good morning. Yay. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church in Eugene. My name is Molly May, Mama Molly to many, and my pronouns are she, her. We gather in worship to find meaning and to live more deeply. Worship creates connections within, among, and beyond us, calling us to our better selves, calling us to live with wisdom and compassion. Whomever you are, whomever you love, whatever your image of the holy, we are glad you're here. If today is your first time with us, we'd love to get to know you. Right after service, we invite you to join us in what we're calling the welcome room, which is right out in our south-facing foyer. And if you're online, the visitor forum is being dropped into the chat right now. You can use your phone to access the order of service by scanning the QR codes, which are hung throughout the building. We also have a few large print paper copies that you can get from our ushers. There you will find names of authors and composers. You'll find the text to choir anthems and resources used and talked about in our services. Now, let's take a few minutes to get to know our neighbors and especially to say hi to people we do not yet know. Hi, thank you. So now I need to call our children, all of our children, whether they be small humans or people who feel like children, to come on up and bring the flower basket with them. Come on, little people. Here's our future, everyone. This might be one of the most beautiful things I've seen at this church. Oh, thank you. All right, now guys, you get to stay up here, all my friends. Thank you. We'll get your carpet squares. We're going to light the chalice together, all of us. We light the chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, with a prayer shared by Reverend Norbert Chapek 100 years ago when he and his wife Maya created the very first flower communion. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these, thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts, to be one in desire and affection and devotion to thy holy will. May they also remind us of the value of fellowship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of thy most precious gifts. May we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do the work in this world. Amen. Oh, and now, let us say the words of our mission which affirm our shared purpose. Empowered by love, we transform ourselves and serve our world.
My name is Ryan Doppelmayr. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a 41-year-old white woman with a flower hat on today because it is our Flower Communion Day. And I am so glad that so many of you are here and you brought your beautiful gifts to share with us today. So today our story is a little bit different because it's actually going to be a story that was prepared by Tina. Do you know Tina? She's not here today. But she made a story for us that we're going to watch on the screen about where this whole thing started, the whole flower communion thing. Do you know it's been around for 100 years? That's a pretty good tradition for us, 100 years. So let's learn a little bit about where it came from.
The Flower Ceremony, A Plain and Simple Beauty. Story by Janine Kane Grossmeyer. In the city of Prague, in the land of Czechoslovakia, in the year 1923, there was a church. But the building did not look much like a church. It had no bells, no spires, no stained glass windows. It had no organ to make beautiful music. It didn't even have a piano. It had no carvings of wood or statues of stone. It had no candles or chalices. It had no flowers. The church did have some things. It had 4 walls, and a ceiling, and a floor. It had a door and a few windows. It had some wooden chairs. But that was all, plain and simple. Except the church also had people who came to it every Sunday. It had a minister, and his name was Norbert Chopek. He had been the minister at the Plain and Simple Church for 2 years. Every Sunday, Minister Chopek went to church, and he spoke to the people while they listened, sitting quietly and still in those hard wooden chairs. When he was done speaking, the people talked a little bit among themselves, and then they went home. And that was all. No music, no candles, no food, not even coffee or donuts. Springtime came to the city of Prague, and Norbert Chopek went out for a stroll. The rains had come, the birds were singing, and the flowers were blooming all over the land. The world was beautiful. Then an idea came to him, simple and clear, plain as day. The next Sunday, he asked all the people in the church to bring a flower, or a budding branch, or even a twig. Each person was to bring one. "What kind?" they asked. "What color? What size?" "You choose," he said. "Each of you choose what you like." And so, on the next Sunday, which was the first day of summer, the people came with flowers of all different colors and sizes and kinds. There were yellow daisies and red roses. There were white lilies and blue asters, dark-eyed pansies and light green leaves, pink and purple, orange and gold. There were all those colors and more. Flowers filled all the vases, and the church wasn't so plain and simple anymore. Minister Chopek spoke to the people while they listened, sitting quiet and still in those hard wooden chairs. "These flowers are like ourselves," he said. "Different colors and different shapes and different sizes, each needing different kinds of care, but each beautiful, each important and special in its own way." When he was done speaking, the people talked a little bit among themselves, and then they chose a different flower from the vases before they went home. And that was all, and it was beautiful, plain and simple as the day.
Good Sunday morning, everyone. So nice to see all of you here today. Happy Mother's Day. My name is Jen Youngsun Rue, and I use the pronouns she and her. I have the pleasure of serving this congregation as its minister. So you heard a little bit about Maya and Norbert Chopek. They were both raised Catholic, and they grew disenchanted with the Catholic faith. And they also both happened to study in the US, where Maya became a Unitarian. Now, Norbert took a little while longer because Norbert took a detour with the Baptists before swinging back around with the Unitarians. I've told this story before, so maybe you remember that Norbert was brought to something called the Baptist Heresy Council or Heresy Board because he was preaching that maybe Jesus wasn't divine. And he was also saying that salvation comes not necessarily through the acceptance of Jesus as your Lord and Savior, but salvation for all of us will come when we eliminate injustice and when the gulf between the rich and the poor becomes not so wide. And so, because of these things, he was booted out by the Baptists, but the Unitarians welcomed him with open arms. And that's how Maya and Norbert came to start a Unitarian church in Prague, in what was then called Czechoslovakia. And that's how we became the wonderful beneficiaries of the Flower Communion. You know, sometimes it's easy to forget how lucky we are, how free we are to gather here together voluntarily in worship without fear of persecution, without fear of a heresy board. How truly blessed are we to call this place our spiritual home, one that insists that no one be excluded, that everyone can join the band, that everyone can make a bouquet as beautiful as this one, not one stem rejected, all truly welcome. This is a community where we insist that everyone has the right and everyone deserves a chance to bloom among the warmth of a loving community. I know that maybe some of you have entered the sanctuary today with a burden from yesterday or a worry about tomorrow. But here, right now, I just invite you to rest in this moment. I know you've got things to do later, but this is the moment that we have to live our life. You are exactly where you need to be right now. There's nothing you have to do. There's nowhere you need to go. So for this hour, let beauty and joy surround you. Come, let us sing of golden mornings. Come, let us worship together. I was talking with one of you on Friday, and this person mentioned that they were out and about, going to different stores, and like everyone they met out in public was just so happy. Hello there, how are you? The warmth and the sunshine has really brought out a lot of joy in people, and certainly a lot of joy in the choir. I'm hearing it a lot. Today, as it is Mother's Day, is also a day of complicated joy. Some of you have recently lost your mothers, and so this will be the first May without her. So however you are feeling today, I just invite you to hold loving kindness for yourself, first of all. Find a position that's comfortable for you. If it's comfortable to close your eyes, then do so. If not, just do whatever feels good to you. Relax. Imagine you're sitting in front of a mirror, looking at your own face. This is a version of the loving kindness meditation from the Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh. Imagine your face in front of you and say to yourself, May I be peaceful. May I be happy. May I be light in body and in mind. May I be safe and free from accidents. May I be free from anger, unwholesome states of mind, fear, and worries. May I know how to look at myself with the eyes of understanding and love. May I be able to recognize and touch the seeds of joy and happiness within myself. May I learn to nourish myself with joy each and every day. May I be able to live fresh, solid, and free. May I not fall into the state of indifference or be caught in the extremes of attachment and aversion. Smile to yourself. And now picture someone else. Picture someone you easily love. Or maybe the person that comes to mind is someone with whom you're having some difficulty. Bring that person to your mind. See their face and say to them, "May you be peaceful. May you be happy, light in body and in mind. May you be safe and free from accidents. May you be free from anger, unwholesome states of mind, fear, and worry. May you know how to look at yourself with the eyes of understanding and love. May you be able to recognize and touch the seeds of joy and happiness in yourself. May you learn how to nourish yourself with joy each day. May you be able to live fresh, solid, and free. May you not fall into the state of indifference or be caught in the extremes of attachment and aversion. And now a prayer for the entire creation, all of our kin. May all beings be peaceful and happy and light in body and mind. May all the beings be safe and free from accidents. May all the beings be free from anger and unwholesome states of mind, fears and worries. May all beings know how to look at themselves with the eyes of understanding and love. May all beings be able to recognize and touch the seeds of joy and happiness in themselves. May all beings learn how to nourish themselves with joy each and every day. May all beings be able to live fresh and solid and free. May all beings not fall into the state of indifference or be caught in the extremes of attachment and aversion. May this be ever so. Amen. Blessed be.
Hi, the reading I have is from Blossoms by Lee Young Lee. From blossoms come this brown paper bag of peaches we brought from the boy at the bend in the road when we turned toward signs painted peaches. From laden boughs, from hands, from sweet fellowship in the bins comes nectar at the roadside, succulent peaches we devour. Dusty skin and all comes the familiar dust of summer, dust we eat. Oh, to take what we love inside, to carry within us an orchard, to eat not only the skin, but the shade, not only the sugar, but the days, to hold the fruit in our hands, adore it, then bite into the round jubilance of peach. There are days we live as if death were nowhere in the background, from joy to joy to joy, from wing to wing, from blossom to impossible blossom, to sweet, impossible blossom.
So much fun playing with other people. We always have to remember that Maya Chapek was involved in this story too. A lot of times Norbert gets all of the praise, but Maya Chapek was also an ordained Unitarian minister, and she is the one who introduced the flower communion to American Unitarians. And you know, I'm not surprised that it caught on so quickly and that it has continued over these many, many decades and spread throughout the world. So the word communion is, of course, not limited to just bread and wine. The word communion simply means an exchange or sharing of deep feelings or thoughts from a spiritual perspective. It's the exchange of intimate feelings and thoughts. So today, we share our deepest hopes and dreams, our longings and desires, our prayers and our lamentations with one another using the language of flowers. flowers, I think, are the perfect vehicle for the exchange of intimate feelings. It just seems to be in our nature to give flowers or to want to lay a flower on a grave or to toss petals into the river. We decorate our homes and we decorate public statues with flowers, right? The other day I was walking around our grounds and found the Buddha tucked in the shade. And my first impulse was to find a flower to lay in his hands. And I've also noticed that, you know, the Rosa Parks statue at the bus station, there are often flowers in her hands, right? We use flowers to both adorn and adore. Those who remember your high school Latin may know the difference between the two. To adorn is to decorate, to beautify, and to adore is to pray, to worship, to speak special words. If you're old enough, maybe you'll remember this black and white image. Kat, I don't know if you had a chance to look it up. I know you were really busy this morning. Oh, you did find it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So you may remember this picture, right? So this is an old black and white photo that was taken in 1967 at an anti-Vietnam War march on the Pentagon. So most of the photo is dominated by the dark uniforms of the military police and the 4 rifles pointed at a young man. The young man happens to be blonde-headed and wearing a white sweater with a handful of white daisies and is putting daisies into the barrel of those guns. An act of adoration, a plea for peace, a prayer for humanity. That young man's name is George Harris. He was just 18 when he did that. Later, he would change his name to Hibiscus and help to form a legendary drag troupe in San Francisco. Sadly, Hibiscus died in 1982, one of the very early casualties of a terrible disease unnamed at that time, but we would later know it as AIDS. Flowers can transmit what our words cannot. They carry our hope and trust in life. Sometimes they carry our apologies. They carry our love that we can't quite put into words. How often have you brought home flowers for someone because you didn't know what else to do? You didn't know what else to say. It's interesting that flowers arrive in a plant's life at the time when it is strong enough to hold the weight of the bloom, the blossom, and at the time in a plant's life when it's ready to transform itself into something entirely new, at a time when that plant is ready to let go of the showy petals and the sweet-smelling blossoms to become what it is destined to become, a peach or a juicy seed. So some of you scientists out there know that there was a time in the life of the earth when there were no flowers, certainly not like this, right? 100 million years ago, somewhere around there, the earth was green and full of a lot of plants and trees and things. I think that's about the time when dinosaurs were learning how to fly and become birds. Sharon's like, nah. Yeah, I don't know. My dinosaur timeline may be off, but anyway, there was a time when there were no flowers like this. Let's leave it at that. There were trees and plants, and back then, plant sex was pretty basic because it just involved pollen being blown in the wind and scattered to all four corners of the world. And there was a lot of hope that that pollen would find a receptacle somewhere that would receive it. But it was so inefficient. A lot of the pollen just kind of went into the water or just got lost and never found the right place. And since nature is genius, and it also hates waste, it found a different way to pollinate. It found a different way to reproduce. And so pollen-loving and pollen-craving insects came about and started buzzing around. And this mutual relationship created more color and fragrance. So apparently the early flowers were kind of brownish and not very attractive. And so the other flowers started competing with one another and started coming up with brighter colors. White especially, like, stood out a lot in a green forest. Yellows, oranges. And over time, we got this. I mean, look at this. This is amazing, right? And it's so beautiful, and it's wonderful. And now we have color and fragrance in our worship services. Many of you came today ready with your flowers. You came ready to bring your flower, to give your flower for the sake of the common bouquet. You brought flowers not necessarily to adorn this place. For this place needs no adornment, really. And actually, neither did that little chapel in Prague in 1923. It was sufficient just the way it was. The building didn't need any adornment. Actually, we are the ones in need. We need more ways to adore life and adore one another. Adore, to pray without words, to worship without the need for an intermediary. We need ways to find ways to adore and to speak from our deepest and truest desires. We need a way to claim our spiritual path and to invite others to witness and accompany us in that. I don't believe that any of you all get up early on a Sunday morning just for coffee and donuts. I mean, our coffee is good, it's not that good, right? Sorry, Michelle. Each of us is here because we want to change. We want to grow. We want to heal. We added a flower to our common bouquet as an act of adoration, to say with this one gesture what we find impossible to say with words, that I need something, that I desire something, that I have a vision for life and I have a vision for our common humanity. I have a vision for this earth. I cannot put it into words, but I have this flower that I brought today to add to the bouquet. In a few minutes, we're going to invite the kids to come back. Actually, is Robin back there? Oh, is Ryan back there? Hey, Ryan, I think it's time. Could you bring the kids? Yep, we'll give the children and the youth first choice of taking a flower. And after they do that, you're all invited to come and select a flower, a different one from the one that you brought. So remember that even if you didn't bring a flower today because you forgot or you didn't know this was going on, please do take a flower. We have plenty. We have more than enough. We have more than enough for everyone. So if the giving of a flower is an act of adoration, what is the meaning of taking a flower? Anybody? It's receiving, it's receiving the bounty of this community. It's receiving gifts here. Reverend Chopek said that it represents friendship and companionship. It's the goodwill generated here and the simple joy of being together. The flower you take home could also represent someone else's unspoken prayers. The flower that you select and take home may overflow with the energies of their desires and their hopes. Take care of the flower that you take. The flower that you take home may also represent your own transformation. You brought one flower into this place where we're all about change and transformation. And now you're taking home a new flower. Perhaps that new flower is the change that is waiting for you to initiate. Perhaps that is the reflection of the change that is coming in your life. Maybe it's a reflection of the change that's already starting to happen. Whatever meaning that you give to the receiving of the flower, may you be truly blessed. May you remember your multiple gifts and the blessings of this community. Amen. All right, kids, come on up. We are going to sing together, though. Can you sing? Help us to sing a song together? Yeah, come on up. And we're going to sing together. And then we're going to extinguish a chalice together, right? So don't take a flower yet. Yeah, we're going to do a couple of things first. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace, everyone. Go in love, and please come up and take a flower. Just one. Just one.